Hey, good morning. I'm Bob, and we had a big rainstorm last night. We're what are these hairs that are it's like hairs on here, but we don't have a cat. I don't know where they're coming from. They've got to be from me. I'm the only one shedding, I think. Yeah, we're in our monsoon season, and there we go. And we are getting storms at night. Last night, I think it was around 1 in the morning, maybe. And man, there's a lot of crack of thunder and lightning and everything. I just pray and pray and pray for God to not let this, for us to lose any trees, and by the grace of God, we didn't lose any trees. In some years past, I think it was in 2020. Anyway, here I'll show you here, right up. Let's see here. Well, okay. You see that one great big tree there? Anyhow, that's a mesquite tree, and right next to it was a mesquite tree, and anyway, it blew over in the wind. I think I told you all about this some time ago in a different video, but yeah. So mesquite trees don't have a lot of roots that go deep. They don't have a lot of structure. They fall over. And the funny thing about a mesquite tree is that if you go out in the desert and you see just wild mesquite trees, you'll see where some have fallen and then just started growing from there, and they just grow. I mean, they can. Well, you know what? As a matter of fact, I will. I'll show you. I'll grab some video after when we're done with this here. I'm gonna have a cup of Joe here while we're talking, but yeah, we had one fall, and we were gonna, after cutting it up and everything, then I had Philip's company come out to trim the other mesquite tree. They thin them out beautifully. He does an amazing job. His crew does. And anyway, the price for them to take out the fallen one, the base, the root, and everything, it was just more than I had. And so financially, money-wise, and so I said, nah, just leave it. Well, the thing started, it was like a big stump, right? A son of a gun started growing, and again, I'll show you in a little later. And now it's like a big tree bush, It doesn't have any chance of falling over because it's got limbs coming out from real low. There's nothing to fall. But anyway, yeah, I prayed that we just wouldn't lose that tree. It's not that the tree is like, I'm not even crazy about mesquites. I grew up here in Arizona. I like green, I like tropical, actually. Anyhow, and mesquite trees are pretty, but they're just. I've seen mesquite trees that are, honest to God, 20, 25 years old, maybe, that have fallen over because they just don't have the root base. And these are mesquite trees that have been trimmed and trimmed and trimmed every season, cut back so that the wind can go through them during a storm, and they just fall over, and it's just, it's hard to want something that doesn't isn't faithful to thrive, right? Anyhow, in the news today, over by the old PV Mall, 32nd, Tatum and Cactus. On that corner, there's this bank. I remember when they built that bank, my gosh, I'm going to say it was maybe in the late 70s, maybe mid to late 70s. And they planted these pine trees, and these pine trees have been growing there ever since. So what is that, like 50 years or more? And about 50 years. And the trunks on these pine trees are huge, and they're beautiful pine trees. And this morning on the news, they had a camera crew out there, and some of these pine trees were completely pulled up and uprooted. So not last night, but the night before, the news reported that we had winds that were as high as 80 miles an hour. That's amazing. Arizona. When I was in the Army, I was in Germany, and back in those days, there was East Germany and West Germany. And so West Germany, where I was at, the friendly side, was like smaller than Oregon. And at the time, this is back in 1976, 1977, 1978, 79, the population was like 60 million in a country that was smaller than Oregon, about the same, maybe about the same size as Oregon. That's pretty crazy. And now, of course, it's just Germany, right? East and west, the wall came down. We all remember that. And what was my point of bringing that up? Oh my gosh. I swear I was going to go somewhere with that. I don't know. Oh, gosh, see what happens? And, it's like walking into a room and not remembering why you walked into the room. Not until you leave. Then you leave the room and you're like, oh yeah, that's what I was going to do. And then you get back in and then hopefully not forget it again. But, jeez. Yeah, we got a lot of rain. We needed it badly. We need it really bad. We need more than what they're we need it. They're doing all this goofy stuff with our our reservoirs are going down. We don't have any natural lakes. I guess there's some natural lakes up in parts of Arizona, but I remember taking a class where the teacher, I don't know if he was accurate in this, but the teacher said that Arizona has no natural lakes. All Arizona has is reservoirs. So we call them lakes, they call them reservoirs, but all of our lakes are way, way, way down. I love Lake Pleasant. It's real close to where we live. It's maybe 25, 30 minutes away. And if I was rich, I'd buy a houseboat. I look at houseboats all the time, and I look at these houseboats that when they started out, they were like $150,000, $125,000. And now, because they're older, in good shape and all that, you can pick them up for like $30,000, $40,000. And I told my wife, I said, man, that'd be so cool to have, pardon me, have a houseboat and something that would sleep maybe 4 people or 6 people if you squeezed them in, and then have a slip, our Social Security check would pay for the slip, and then just live out on the lake. And so that would be cool. Be able to fish anytime you want. But we need these lakes to come up and You know, we have horrible water management in Arizona. Not this governor, but the one that we had before had received a proposal. Now, this is probably 5 years ago, maybe right about that, 5 years ago, a proposal from an Israeli company to do a Pacific Ocean pipeline from, what is that, the Sea of Cortez, there, the Pacific Ocean, and it would go. And you know what's interesting is, anyway, the governor we have now, just not interested, and anyhow, there's it's so weird to see, like, here's this truth, but here's the opposing truth, and they both do this. Now, how can that be? You know, really, how can that be? So this truth that is for a Pacific Ocean pipeline is stating these facts, which from the opposing side does not dispute the facts. But then they will come up with some of their own set of facts that are in conflict with these facts, even though they've agreed that these are facts. So it's kind of weird. It's so sophomoric. It's like a pissing contest between kids, and it's like, wait a second. Listen to what you said. Does that make sense? You know, does that make sense? No, it doesn't. You know, and I don't know what you're supposed to do to get people to get along. I really don't. You know, it's crazy. But do you know there's over 150 countries on this planet that take water from the ocean, go through desalination plant, and it's water for their countries. And there's over 150 of them, and they've been doing this for decades. And anyway, you know, we've got the Alaskan pipeline, right, that brings oil, and that's been extremely successful. Nobody balks about that. There's nothing critical about it. And it's, when did they do that? Like in the 70s, I think. And they just, I think they used that whole scam of saying that we had a gas shortage. That's where the government, you know, just really and truly didn't tell the truth, you know, and said we had a gas shortage. Anyway, so that Alaska pipeline was put in. That's over 800 miles in length. A Pacific Ocean pipeline would be less than 400 miles in length. The ups and downs of the Alaskan pipeline, the ocean pipeline would be about a third of the ups and downs, elevation changes. And it's not oil, you know, which is corrosive and bad for the ground and environment and all these scary things. It's water. And, you know, Yuma is only about 60 miles, 70 miles from I think it's the Sea of Cortez, but Pacific Ocean water. It's about 70 miles away. If they were to take, and I forget I think it's like maybe 200 feet, 300 feet above sea level. So it's not like they're pumping it up here. They're just pumping it like this. They could do a desalination plant in Yuma. That'd be great for their economy. And then they could go ahead and run the water, pump the drinking water. They could follow the Colorado River, just go upstream. You know, Colorado River doesn't have like these Niagara Falls. It just, you know, it just runs at a slope, right? And they could just go ahead and go upstream. They could use small nuclear plants. Have you guys heard about this at all? There's a lot of YouTube videos on it. It's pretty interesting. It's these young guys. I'll tell you, you young people are we love you. You're so smart. You've got such great purpose, and you're so smart. But these young guys came up with, what if they did a nuclear power plant but reduced it? And so they call them small nuclear reactors. And they can't power a lot of stuff. They can power about 1,500, 1,400 homes. But they're super safe, and they run for a decade easily without needing, the nuclear energy that goes into it. It's like the size of a chili bean, like a pinto bean. And the reactor is about the size of a car. But these could run the pump, bring that water into Arizona, and we could just have there's all these groups that talk about, the ocean levels are rising and rising, it's gonna sink, cities and all this stuff. Well, let's lower it. Let's pump a bunch of that water into Arizona and just have it nonstop water coming into Arizona, fill our lakes, and so that's our house payment is it's what we can afford, and so our house payment is about $700 and some a month. We bought our house a little over 10 years ago, and so before the market exploded and everything, this is our forever home. Our next home is heaven, and thank God we don't have to pay for that. So Jesus gives us that, yeah. And so our water bill, we have no grass, no pool, no spa, no leaks. We have no leaks. And our water bill is a lot. Really and truly a lot. People in Arizona that have septic tanks need to just be thrilled to have a septic tank, because their water bills are really cheap. Like you take here's an example, you take somebody that's on a half-acre property and they have a septic tank, and so their water bill will come in, because there's no sewage service, okay? Their water bill will come in, and let's say they use a lot of water, it's a full household, maybe 1,800 square foot home. Their water bill is maybe $40 to $70, and you take that same place, that same thing, no pool, no spa, none of that kind of stuff, no leaks. You take the same situation, but they're hooked up to the city sewer system, the municipality, and easily their water bill could be $200 and $300 or more. There's wealthy people that live in the town of Paradise Valley that are not on septic tanks, and I can't remember, their water company used to be Cheney, and then it was like Paradise Valley Water Company, and I don't know what it is anymore. I'm out of that loop, but there's people there that have water bills that are $700 and up. But you got to remember that some of the houses up there are 10,000, 12,000 square foot homes. It's a lot of wealthy people live, a lot of good people, and so, yeah. But leave it to young people, man. There's look at what these innovative people that they came up with a water generator. Okay, I think right now our humidity. I think my daughter said before she left for work, our daughter said that the humidity was something like 37% right now, and it's probably almost 90, probably 88 degrees. And so, which is like super nice weather. But these water generators only need like less than, I think like 15-20% humidity, and they can generate gallons of water out of the air. And so, man, I think I predict that someday home builders, like you see how there's home builders that will include solar, to kind of trim the electric bill for a homeowner. And I think someday we're going to see home builders that include like a water generator, and then have some big holding tank that is buried in the ground or something, that is gonna be able to help compensate, So I saw a YouTube video. It was one of those little shorts. What are those called? Reels? Or I think they're called reels. Anyway, and it had, it was talking about this water generator. It's about the size of a washing machine. It's pretty big. And even in low humidity, it said it generates 10 gallons. I think it said 10 gallons a day. That doesn't sound like much, but the thing is it's like having, a leak in your checking account, where it all adds up. If all of a sudden you're spending $10 a day, next thing you know, you spent over $300, in a month, or $3,000, and anyway, you end up, it adds up. And I think then on high humidity days like today, those son of a guns could be generating, 80, maybe 100 gallons of water. And if that's going into a big tank, and then from that tank, you're getting your drinking water, your showers and toilets, and maybe your landscape is, kind of offset and everything. We don't have any yard. We don't have a pool or a spa. We have, like I said, we have no leaks. And our irrigation system runs for, I think it's a drip system. I think it runs for like 20 minutes every day. And our water bill is like almost half of our house payment. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's so, anyway, yeah, but it's pretty incredible when you think of the stuff that is out there, the innovation. And my wife has always said this. I want to say this because I like this. This is really, really cool. Is that we have more in common with each other than we have against each other. And if we would just be cordial to each other, if we just love each other, we don't have to get gushy, I'm not a big fan of, like, if we go to church, I don't want to be hugged, but yet I'll hug my friends if they like initiate it. No problem, I'll hug them. Certainly family members and stuff, but maybe it's ever since COVID, but anyway, I just don't want somebody wrapping their arms around me, so, and I am a touchy person. I really am. You could ask my kids. I always hug my kids, my grandson, my wife. Yeah, so, anyway, but, well, I just wanted to go ahead and do another video. I can't see how many minutes. Here's 24 minutes going on here.